Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Alabama Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ Film Festival. This is our 38th year, and we have a remarkable lineup this year. As always, we have a rich array of documentaries from around the world and here. One of our favorites this year is The Dancer, and we're going to talk to the director of The Dancer. First of all, let me read the description. Um, the Dancer is a coming of age film about Ahmad Juzay, born stateless in Syria's Yarmouk camp. Ahmad is a dancer who battles against inner and external war in his pursuit for the true meaning of freedom. Born into a refugee camp in Damascus, he was condemned for being gay, threatened by ISIS to death for dancing, abused by his father for being true to himself. After gaining Dutch citizenship and international fame, Ahmad navigates the pressure of becoming the first qualified ballet master from Arabic background. The film follows his journey of fulfilling this dream and returning back to Syria with a newfound sense of freedom, graduate degree, and desire to empower the dancers of the Syrian National Ballet. An uplifting and humanizing look at what it means to be othered in today's world. The Dancer explores the hopeful pursuit of personal expression in the most dangerous of circumstances. This is such an extraordinary film. I am so honored that we're going to be able to show it. Lacey Allmeyer, the director, thanks so much for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you again for having me.
I'm so delighted. So our programmers just fell in love with this film. So I'm really, really happy we can get in there.
Mm,
But
yes.
just tell us a little bit about how you decided to make this.
Yeah, I've actually known Ahmad for years. When I was a former journalist at Univision, I came across his story. And at the time, this was when Facebook videos were going really viral and everybody was living on Facebook and that algorithm for like news and content. And, I had read an article about Ahmad. He had already left Syria and was dancing with the Dutch National Ballet. And I reached out to him and was, one of the earlier journalists wanting to go cover his story
Mhm.
once he got settled there. And so that's when I first met him. And then we ended up collaborating again about 5 years ago on just a short dance film,
Yeah,
that I love him and I just wanted to kind of get creative with him and do something really interpretive.
yeah.
We did that. That was on Nowness, a little artsy online content platform. And when we met to do that piece, he brought his fiance, Andy, and we ended up, meeting. And he told me about, kind of like where his life was at with Andy. And also, he was going to be studying for his master's and was going to be becoming the first Arabic ballet master in the world. And he was also planning to go back to Syria for the first time since, leaving. And he had all these really big life events coming up. And I was just like, there was another documentary done on him about his leaving Syria. And
Yeah.
I thought that, this time in his life was also just so important. And, there were so many new barriers that he was overcoming that we would try to capture it and tell that story.
Um, can you talk about the importance of ballet and how ballet came into Ahmad's life?
Yeah, I mean, Ahmad fell into dance as a young child and he always loved dance. That's when he felt the most free. But as you'll see in the film, in Syria in particular, there's a lot of encouragement for female dancers. But, he was incredibly mistreated by his dad for wanting to dance. And, ultimately his mom, left the house and like supported Ahmad in pursuing dance. And during that time, I mean, his dad was physically abusive to both him and his
Yeah.
mom, emotionally abusive to both of them. And, it was a really horrific time. So, just wanting to dance and like that feeling of freedom, he got when dancing started when he was a child, but like since the very beginning, it was always a road kind of like wrought with, obstacles for him.
Exactly. I mean, his life has been about obstacles and perseverance and getting through. But I mean, in essence, dance saved his life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's true too. So it's kind of like dance is this double-edged sword for him where,
Yeah.
it does create all this conflict, but it is also like I think his purest love, and joy comes from dance as well.
There's so much story here, so much to talk about. I mean, when you were working with Ahmad to tell this story, I mean, were there any limits about, were there things he just didn't want to talk about or explore? Or was he pretty much an open book?
Yeah, there are some topics and some things that we have to be delicate talking about, just because he still has family in Syria, and there's persecution that can happen to his family there still if we talk about things in a certain way. So, Ahmad, I worked with him a lot on kind of like what he was comfortable with, even, during our interviews and the edit of the film, just making sure that everything still kind of like put his safety and his family's safety forefront.
I was reading a little bit more about the film today, but Ahmad's had to deal with, war, death threats, statelessness, and the pursuit for his true meaning of freedom. But can you sort of talk about? I mean, it's just sort of a remarkable story. Again, a perseverance and I mean, how do you? I mean, how do you explain his persistence and Ahmad's ability to get through all this and remain joyous and remain committed and to moving forward when I mean he's dealt with so much in his life it could have easily just toppled him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's really interesting about this documentary is that we dive deeper. We
Yeah,
go with Ahmad as he's going to therapy, and you can see
yeah,
that he's a person really, even though he is still so joyful, I think when
yeah.
you see him dance, there's a lot of joy in his life, but Ahmad is still navigating like a deep amount of pain. And the perseverance wasn't without like a lot of moments of almost giving up. He talks about almost committing suicide as a young person. And then, when he first came to the Netherlands, like the new wave of depression that he was faced with. And, I think he's still battling through a lot of that. I think dance helps with that. I think that's like part of his healing process. But I think something that was really, good for us to talk about was, like the mental health that a lot of refugees and displaced people, persecuted people go through. So even though I think you can read a tagline about Ahmad and it's like, oh my God, this is like the strongest person.
Yeah.
But it's like he is still just like a person and he has a lot of wounds that are still like things that he's going through. And, I can't remember exactly, but there was like a statistic about how many refugees, when they came to Amsterdam, like suffered PTSD. And Amsterdam was like one of the only places offering free mental health programs for them. And I think that was like something that was so beautiful. And Ahmad did
Yeah.
take advantage of that. But I think, that is something that our film talks about. And Ahmad is just a special human. Sometimes you meet people and you're just really drawn to them and it's deeply inspired by them. And I'm just so grateful that I met him all those years ago and that he's been a constant part of my life. My kids have met him, and I'm just like, I want the world to know about Ahmad. He is really just, yeah, so special, so honest, really raw and authentic. Um, and he is just a force.
The journey you know to fulfill his dream of going or returning to Syria, can you sort of talk about that and how what that means to Ahmad?
Yeah, I mean, Ahmad returning to Syria again, like brought up a lot of like emotional things for him. Like I think a lot of the things that he had buried were coming up. That was a really intense process.
Mhm.
Um, Also, like what you see in the movie is that, it's dangerous for him. Like his life now, like since he's left, he's been a Pride ambassador in Amsterdam and, he is out there talking about freedom and talking about Syria. And, he's very careful about how he talks about it politically. But, you see in the film that like he actually was really like chased out,
Yeah.
even when he went back and he was like excited to see his mom again, his family, his sister had recently had a baby. And anyways, I mean, there was just like a moment like that where things really changed for him there. And, people were threatening his life and then he had to leave again. So I don't know what the future holds for Ahmad going back. Obviously, things have really changed politically, even this year for Syria. And, I feel yeah, it was like a beautiful homecoming for him to go. Like, I think his biggest dream is to one day go back to Syria and teach ballet there. But yeah, it was really hard to see that happen to him, while we were filming.
As a director, you did an exemplary job of really, showing all this going on with his life, but also not forgetting to show the man at the center of this, like mine, and and the joy he has in his life, particularly with his dance. And can you sort of talk about that challenge of having so much to tell and dealing with so many themes, but not forgetting to focus on the man and who he is and how you can just when you watch the dance sequences, there's just such a joy that comes out, at Akmal doing what he's doing.
Hmm. Oh, well, thanks. I think that, we ended up only doing one talking head, which was with Ahmad, which
Yeah.
normally, documentaries follow a lot of different voices. You have other people really talking about, the center figure. But yeah, I don't know kind of how I made that decision early on, but I was really just like, I think I want to really use Ahmad's point of view and like we'll set up these more verite moments where we see
Yeah.
him interact with other people and we hear about how other people see him, you know what I mean, view him, but through those like verite moments, but leave the interviews for really Ahmad and his story. And then I really wanted, just as a filmmaker, I love the idea of doing these more cinematic dance
Yeah.
sequences throughout the film to emotionally tell his story. Dance is such a beautiful art form, and it was really, great to work with Ahmad to kind of present to him the ideas I had of like visually what I was wanting to do, but then letting him take the dance, you know what I mean, and do the choreography himself. And so I think, he is known for a specific type of dance. That's what he's asked to do when he travels and performs all over the world. And it was great to see him kind of stretch that and do these more, contemporary dance sequences. And yeah, so yeah, I think it was just an early on decision to use his kind of story and those uh touch points of like, I know this is where we're going this year. We're going to film for this time only, and this is what we're capturing.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was a little bit more almost narrative in that way. But yeah, that's kind of how we approached it.
Now again, tell me how long you worked on this.
We filmed over the course of a year, only probably less than a year. With documentaries, it's like financing is always hard, and we did a lot over a few trips. We started filming in Montana. We filmed him in where all did we go? A lot in Amsterdam, obviously in Syria and Lebanon. And then one of the trips when we were in Amsterdam, we ended up following him to Italy to see some of his more like humanitarian work, which is like another part of Ahmad. Like he dances and he's such a beautiful dancer, but like his way of giving back to communities and like specifically he's got to focus on like helping children, was so beautiful to watch and to, kind of try to weave into the story.
Exactly. So talk to us a little bit about you're still fairly early in your festival run, correct?
Yeah, we premiered at Dock Edge in New Zealand. And, I'm really excited to be showing the film here in America. I think that because of what's happening politically,
Yeah.
I think that Ahmad's dad is Palestinian, and his mom is Syrian. And that's why he was born stateless. Um, and he, I think having some Palestinian roots, especially with what's happening right now,
Yeah.
um, it's been, I think, a harder journey for the film. I think some people are just like not wanting to kind of like delve into things going on in that part of the world. So I'm really excited to finally like bring it here to America. And I think that he is such a proud Pride ambassador. Like it's really something that
Yeah.
he's been doing for years and is really important to him. And, So yeah, this is going to be our second screening, and I guess you call it like our North American debut, or and I don't know the term for it, but
It is so
uh,
exciting.
yeah, yeah,
So, I
it's
mean,
very exciting.
what was it like for Ahmad to see the film?
I mean, really moving. I think he's just so proud of it. And, I think again, I think it's a lot for him. I think it's a lot for him. There were things that we talked about that he really does not talk about. And I think having that captured and like seeing it, brings a lot of emotions up for him. And I think that also seeing his family is emotional and the leaving of Syria. So I think he's so proud of the film and we're so happy with what we kind of did together. But it's emotional. It's a lot, to go through.
As you are navigating screenings here and there, I mean, what is the ultimate goal for this film? Do you want to get it on a distribution, some sort of streaming?
Yeah, I mean, of course, if any streamers are watching this, please pick us up. My only hope really is that I think a lot of filmmakers hopefully go into documentaries with just like a real desire for people to learn about their subjects. And I really believe that the world needs more people like Ahmad right now. I think more than ever, it's like he carries such a pure message of peace and inclusivity and love for everyone. He is really what the world needs. So I hope that we can find a place in a way where more people, anybody can have access to the film.
Okay, that's great. The Dancer screens Saturday, October 4th at 5:30 p.m. at Outfront Theater Company. It's an extraordinary film. It tells you all about Ahmad Judeh and so much he's gone through with his life. Lacey, thank you so much for not only sharing this film with us and our audience, but thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for talking with me. And again, thank you for giving
Um,
our film this home. I feel so privileged.
so, Rick, so I'll let you know when this interview is posted.
Okay,
So
bye.
much. I appreciate it.